co-founder, Home Depot, chairman, founder of Job Creators Network. Bernie Marcus coming up right now. Hey, Bernie, thanks for being with us, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very well. Thanks for the invitation. I'd like to be with you this morning, and I hope it's a good day. And we certainly need something after the calamity we've been living through.
You've signed the front of paychecks for a long time. You've also signed the back. You're a great businessman. You care deeply about this country. I'm just beside myself on what is going on right now. The fact that we have shut down the levers of production in the greatest economy, maybe in the history of the world. We had zero effective unemployment, 3%, which is, everybody knows that's just transitional. Wages were going up. Everybody's 401k was going up. The number of minority business and female-owned businesses had exploded. We had this unbelievable small business entrepreneur resurgence. And now in 30 days, I don't recognize the country that I was in a month ago. Bernie, what happened to us?
Well, look, I don't know. I think maybe it was overblown. I think the demographics, after we do a quarterback, a couple of months from now, they're going to look back and we're going to find out that the real calamity, the real people that suffered were people who were older, 60, 65 and older, and the younger generation did not get hit as hard. We talk about not treating everybody across the board the same. We ought to talk about the demographics. The situation for the older people in the United States, like myself, is much different than people that are 40, 50 years of age, and why we're taking the whole population and actually punishing everybody for what is really happening to the demographics. You see the old homes, we're age people. This is the highest percentage of deaths, and it's in that age group. I think that Kemp did the right thing by opening up. We are at the verge of a calamity. Most of these people, I remember when I didn't have any money. I remember the days when we struggled to open Home Depot. We're a small business, and if a calamity like this ever hit us in those early days, Home Depot would not be here today. And I'm afraid that many businesses will not open. I'm in Florida right now, and one of my favorite restaurants declared bankruptcy yesterday.
Really?
And he's got 6 restaurants, and the guy was running a great business, a phenomenal business, but he couldn't get to sustain, a month and a half out of business and keep paying the bills and paying the rent and paying the insurance and everything else. We're going to see, my prediction is that 15 to 20% of small businesses, which represent 50% of the jobs in America, are not going to reopen. And I think sooner the better. The American people have been through this now. If they're not smart enough to know where to be cautious, where to wear a mask, to stay away from people that are coughing and sneezing, et cetera, stop shaking hands. My God, I stopped shaking hands 10 years ago. I've been doing fist bumps for 10 years. And we got to bring the economy back. And for that, Job Creators Network was very responsible for this package of the PPP, the Payroll Protection Act. And we fought to get it out there, but I'm afraid a lot of it is going to be too late. And these states that are hanging in, and I'm happy all these southern states in the mid-America are opening up today. The situation with New York and New Jersey is a separate situation. They have a real problem on their hands because of public transportation. But the rest of the country has got to get open as soon as possible.
Well, I don't know how we can sustain this, Bernie. Many of the small business owners that I talked to in the Mid-Atlantic area had told me that, we can get through April, we cannot get through May. And so now, like in Virginia, we're not ostensibly opening until May 8th, and the governor's making an announcement today. Everybody expects that he'll extend it for another week or two, the lockdowns. But look, I'm here in Georgia. I've been here all week, Bernie. And you know what? Well, I'm at the Avalon Hotel in Alpharetta, not far from where you were, so you know the area. And I came here on Monday expecting, okay, Brian Kemp has made a courageous decision. He's going to get everybody back to work. And it took me 2 days to find a restaurant that was actually open. nobody would open. And then I started talking to restaurant owners who told me, I can't find employees because they're making too much money on unemployment. They don't want to come back. They're afraid. They'd rather stay home. Then they said, well, if I open up, I could get sued. I have no litigation protection. Then they said, well, nobody's coming out. If I open up, I look out in the street. Nobody's out. Everybody's got a mask on. So I'm afraid to bring these people back, order the food, and nobody shows up. So I'll just continue to do curbside. But I can't do curbside for May. I'm going to go out of business. So, I mean, these are owners. I've talked to probably 30 of them here. I'm getting that consistent message. How do we change that, Bernie?
Well, I think that one of the things you mentioned, that is immunity from litigation, is a big issue. And I think that for the first time Congress is talking about it, the Republicans, not the Democrats, protecting businesses. They are 100% right that if they open, there's a very distinct possibility both their employees or their customers can now go to the list and say, well, you left one little thing off here, or you didn't do it the right way, or you opened it and knowing that you're going to create infection and we're going to sue the hell out of you, and you're out of business. And the trial lawyers have basically destroyed America anyway. The reason you pay more for medical in the United States today, for about 25% of the costs of going to a hospital, are unneeded tests that they give you just to protect themselves against the trial lawyers. And I think that the majority leader of the Senate now understands that, and he has said if there's going to be another bailout for the small businesses, it's going to include the immunity from liability. And they're 100% right. But let me just tell you that people have been through this now, and they're very, very cautious. They will come out, and I think that the owners have to open their businesses in a very small way, understanding they're not going back to where they are. The business owners know more than the government when it comes to running their businesses, but they're going to have to open. If they don't open, they're eventually going to close permanently. They can't afford to be out of business for a long time. Now, let me tell you the other thing that's very important. Many of the business owners don't understand that people like went on unemployment and got the extra $600. It may be difficult to get them back, but if they send a letter saying, I want you back, that letter constitutes the end of the unemployment, and those people have to come back. Businesses are not going to operate without people working.
Right.
I don't blame the employees.
Right.
And I understand their concern about coming back and being sick. But my God, the grocery stores have been open all this period of time.
Right.
They haven't stopped the food chain. Home Depot has been open all this time. They're just smart and letting a certain amount of people in the stores at a time and taking every precaution. And I think that small businesses have to do that. But you have to start somewhere. Somebody's going to have to open somewhere. And they will come. People will come. People who are in their 40s and their 50s are not being the ones that they're ending up killed by this virus. And so, as I said before, the demographics of the people also count. People my age, you're going to have to stay very calm and be extra cautious. But the other people, I think, can start going out. And I don't mean going to baseball games or going to a movie. I'm saying just be cautious about it, but go out and touch the waters. And it's up to you to get these businesses going. This is going to affect everybody's life in America.
Right. We're with Bernie Marcus, co-founder Home Depot back in the day. Now he's the founder and chairman of the Job Creators Network, amongst many, many other ventures that he's been involved in. He's one of the greatest philanthropists in the United States, is also the man behind the Georgia Aquarium, one of the biggest and coolest things you could ever see. Bernie, so basically your message is, I love your message, by the way. Let me paraphrase it. If you build it, they will come. If you open it, they will come. That's your message, right?
Yes, exactly.
If you open it, they will come. So what I've experienced here for a week, which is most people, like last night, I wanted to go to one of my favorite places, Ted's, right? Because I love the bison. and you
Right.
can't find it where I am. So I go to Ted's that I've been going to forever when I lived in Atlanta. Can't sit in the restaurant, can't sit at the bar. Got to do curbside, or you can eat at a table outside. And it was a little chilly, so I didn't feel like doing that. So I didn't go. But I was just trying to find something open. But what you're saying is, if you open, they will come. But if you're not open, they're not going to come. The other thing I heard you say is, if you want your people back, all you have to do is send a letter in, and the unemployment's gone. Because the unemployment was not meant to make more money staying home or to stay home so you don't have to go to work. The unemployment was meant 30 million people got laid off, and so you got to be able to live by no fault of your own. So I get that. Do you think Georgia and Brian Kemp, who's leading the way, Bernie Marcus, you think he did the right thing?
Well, the difference between federal employees and state employees, I would assume that the governor is closer to the people. He understands the pain and frustration, and also understands that the economy of the state is dependent on business. And if the economy of the state doesn't improve, the state is going to go broke. And we're going to end up being a socialist country where the government provides everything. And this is what the Democrats would love to see. But that's not the way that's not why the United States became the place in the world where people wanted to be. So he made the right decision. Now the question is people's what their estimation of how safe a place is, how safe a place is not, and if the owners provide. And by the way, I will tell you that about something or 60 or 70% of the people in the United States that are unemployed or got thrown out of work happen to be in these industries, the restaurant industry and the recreational industry. If they don't start moving the puck, they're not going to make a goal unless they're down the line. They have to start somewhere. They have to do it somewhere. And I think with him opening the state, I knew that this was. I was on the air the other day, and I said, if you think people are going to flood in, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. People have been trained now for a month and a half to stay indoors, stay away from people. Now you got to break that habit, and people have to understand, for those people in the demographics of the younger people and middle-aged people, that they're safer than the older people. The older people like myself have to continue to behave reasonably and have to be very cautious about themselves. But that doesn't mean the rest of the population has to go without everything.
You didn't build a company like Home Depot by not being able to read data and numbers, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why you built your company, and you've built other companies, because you can read data, right? And you can interpret it, and you go by the numbers. And you look at the numbers right now, we were sold on shutting down the entire means of production because we didn't want to run out of hospital beds. Well, we have enough hospital beds. I just had the CEO on, Rick Jackson, of one of the biggest healthcare companies in America. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, and he's like, there are across my hospitals, I got 75-80% of my beds open across the United States in every single hospital. So that never happened. He said, I got so many ventilators, we're giving them away. So we don't have that problem. Why are we still sheltering in place, right? So they keep moving the goalposts.
Again, it goes. Hey, listen, John. If you're a government employee, let's say Fauci. I mean, I think he's pretty good. He's done a very good job. But Fauci is on the government payroll.
Right.
He's not out of work, and he's getting paid every week the way he was before. Nothing changed for him. Mm-hmm. And so for him, let's keep the country closed until there isn't a single case in the United States anymore. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. We don't have a clue. People have to understand that the flu took, I don't know if it's as many deaths, but very, very close to it. And it's happened every year, year after year after year, and we haven't closed the country. So I think it's reached a point now where it's at least equivalent to what the flu is at. And many of these people that died, by the way, probably died from the flu and not the coronavirus.
Right, exactly.
And we don't have a clue about that either.
Exactly. And now we're getting.
So let's get this country open, and let people go back to living a life without fear, understanding there are risks. And people that have a brain in their head will understand they can't live the same way they did before, embracing and hugging and kissing and papa. For a while, you just have to move away and be smart. But for crying out loud, let's get the economy going again.
Well, I mean, we have. I mean, it's almost mind-boggling what we have done in 30 days, taking the greatest economy maybe in the history of the world, with full unemployment, wages going up, getting our supply chains back, all the things we've done, and just ending all means of production for a month. And, one of the disturbing things to me is you look at some of the public opinion polling, and people are saying, yeah, sheltering in place, staying home. I like it. Well, I don't know where that's coming from, but you mentioned federal employees. Just today, the federal government announced that all federal employees, that's across all the agencies where I live in Washington, all the federal government work from home until May 29th. That means they get paid, work from go on Zoom, do an app, keep your pajamas on. I mean, and it has no impact on the federal government. I'll tell you the other thing, Bernie, final thing I want to get your opinion on. How are you going to get people to go back to work and go out in society when the leaders in Congress are saying, well, no, we're not going to come back to work because it's not safe? If Congress isn't going to come back, why should anybody else go back, Bernie?
Well, you make a very good point, John. And again, it's what perception is, and perception is going to be the critical factor. The one thing that people forget about, they're all statistics, statistics of how many people are out of work. I know I used to spend all my time on the floor of the store in Home Depot. These people that are out of work today were my people. These are our customers. Mm-hmm. And I could tell you they live from paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have money in the house and you don't have money to buy milk for your kids, mm-hmm. or you're worried about paying your rent, at the end of the month, this is not a federal employee. This is the free economy. And what happened here is that government grew, but the free economy collapsed completely. And we have to remember a lot of these decisions are being made by the federal government and not by the free economy. And I am so deadly concerned about these people not being able to make it. There's really hardship here. I mean, imagine we don't know if you're going to feed your family that week, or you're going to be out of your apartment or your house because you can't pay the mortgage. Or you're going to have to give your car back because you can't afford the car payment. These are real people with real problems that are not solved by sitting home on your rear end and playing with your TV all day. This is not going to happen with those people. This is a life and death situation, and we have to start thinking about the human beings that are involved and not just the numbers. When you play the numbers, you don't get a picture of the human beings. And these human beings are in pain. This is why This is why in Michigan they're in the state house, ready to ram down the doors. She doesn't have a clue of what she's doing to her citizens. Mm-hmm. If they don't start opening, they're not going to be successful eventually. The longer they stay, the longer it's going to be difficult for them to get back. And the perception of people, if nobody's open, well, why would anybody go out? Why would anybody take a chance? Once most people open, people will say, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a try. And you know what? If they have safe distances, right, and people clean their places of work, right, it'll be a safe environment, or as safe as it's ever been. Before the flu, remember.
Right. Bernie, final question. You bring up Governor Whitmer in Michigan, fighting with the legislator, people protesting there, continuing with this draconian lockdown where you can't buy a flower pot and you can't walk your dog twice or whatever she's done there. Why is she doing that, in your judgment? What's her?
Well, because she doesn't have a real. Listen, she's got political ambitions. That's number one.
Right.
So she's going to her base. That's number one. Number two, I don't believe that she has a real feel for what's happening to the citizens of her state. Mm-hmm. Those governors, and I'll tell you, the governor of Florida. He knows what's happening. I've mm-hmm. talked to him about it. He feels the pain of the people not being able to get back to work, and earning a living, and it's very visceral for him. Evidently, she doesn't feel it. All these other governors do. Now, the situation in Detroit is not the same as the situation all over Michigan. And I think that's the problem for her. She's looking at one picture across the board. It's the same thing. Listen, if you listen to Cuomo, Cuomo said upstate New York is not struggling the same way that New York City is. So why are they punishing upstate New York because of what's happening in New York City? It doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, just using your common sense tells you that one size doesn't fit all. Mm-hmm. And I think that the problem is she just doesn't get it. What's happening in Detroit is a special situation and she's doing the right thing for Detroit. But what's right for Detroit is not right for the rest of Michigan. It's the same thing with Cuomo. Cuomo has the draconian things, but he's got the subways to worry about. He's got people living on top of each other to worry about. And so his problem is the same, and he talked about it. And he said, we don't have this situation in Utica. We don't have it, in Albany, the same as we have it in New York City. So why is he punishing Utica and Albany? I don't get it. He sooner or later he has to. This is a very smart guy. Mm-hmm. He has to say, you know what? Let's open up the rest of the state, and let's worry about New York and solve the problem until we get that solved.
Spot on, Bernie Marcus. I want to thank you. Here's Bernie's message to business owners: open it, and they will come. I love that message, Bernie. I'm going to coin that for you. Open it, and they will come. I think you're so right. People want to go out. There's nothing open. So let the governors take the restrictions off and then let the businesses open it. And I also agree with you, Bernie, 100%, and McConnell. And, I've had my differences with Leader McConnell for a very long time. But recently, he's becoming one of my favorite people, oddly enough, right? For prioritizing the judges. But the other thing he said the other day, he said, I'm not passing crap on without a stopgap for all litigation. If that's not there, if there's not a blanket law there absolving businesses from COVID-19 litigation, I'm not going to sign anything. I think you got to be able to do that because that's now becoming the number one thing that business owners are saying. And another thing they're saying is, look, if I get sued, 6 months ago I had resources to fight, and now I don't have any money, so I can't fight it. I'll just have to claim bankruptcy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they'll take a chain. Like Chick-fil-A or something, and
right.
They'll find something in one store, and they'll do a class action against all the stores, and it'll go before a jury, and the jury is, well, Chick-fil-A's got a lot of money. Just let's put the money out there, and let's take as much as we can from them. But people don't understand that it rolls downhill.
Yep.
These things come back to you in higher prices, lower employment, and all that. You suffer the penalty. Like every time they put taxes in, like Seattle, the stupidity of Seattle is beyond belief. Mm-hmm. These people are crazy. They're socialist nuts out there. They want to put another tax on people that hire people. They're insane. They're insane.
Bernie, we're out of time. Bernie Marcus says,
we live in a nutcase world. You hear Bernie Sanders, you listen to the nonsense that comes out of his mouth. He's a nutcase. He's an absolute nutcase. And we see people following him. Socialism is the evil of freedom. It's the opposite of freedom. You step out of line in China, you're dead meat. Look what happened with the coronavirus. A doctor warns the world, he disappears. Mm-hmm. That's what communism is, mm-hmm. and that's what socialism is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was like.
Don't get me into this one, John. This is one I'm really sensitive about.
Well, there's people like me that believe that the perpetuation of the fear and the hysteria by the mainstream media and these governors in swing states to keep everything closed down, to tank the economy, make everybody dependent on the government, looking to the government to keep
Yep.
them safe, looking to the government to give them money, looking to the government to buy them food. They're training people to submit, stay in line. I think you called it. We've gone from, or somebody said we've earlier today we got from social distancing to social obedience. You will obey me. That's what the socialist society is. And now it's like, what an opportunity, as a Congressman Clyburn said, what an opportunity this COVID-19 is to reshape the entire economy and our image, which basically is a socialistic state. That's why they're keeping it closed down in these states, so that there's no jobs, no money. Everything will eventually collapse. And then we have the new Green Deal and mail-in ballots, the whole bit. They get it all if they can keep it shut
you would
down.
you would hate to believe, John, that that's in the mind. I can't believe that there are people that evil that would believe that a bad economy and people out of work and people needing it is good for their cause, their political cause. It's hard for me to believe that. But unfortunately, I think there are some. I'm not saying all, but I think there are some. And
Bernie
we have
Marcus,
to be very cautious about it. That's why
Bernie.
I want to see the economy back again. I think that number one, Trump created this economy, and I think that Trump is smart enough. He wants to get it back. He understands what this stands for. He's a businessman, and he's doing everything in his power to get this engine restarted. You know, fill it with gasoline, get the thing pumping, and get it out as quickly as you can. He's talking about it. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the language skills that Cuomo has or somebody else, but that's what he wants to do. And I think if he can pull it off, he'll be back where we were before. Not him from a political standpoint, the country. He understands that if people are starving, if people can't pay their bills, that this leads to a lot of bad things. And he says it's bad things, not, he doesn't have the political words to use, but it does lead to bad things. And bad things, and number one, government gets bigger. And pretty soon people just give up the right to be free and say, just tell me what to do. Just make sure I have food on the table. But then if you look at it, in Venezuela, they got no food on their table.
Exactly.
The only ones who are eating are the leaders.
Exactly. Same thing in every communist socialist environment there is. Bernie Marcus, I'm out of time, though. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your candor. Bernie says, open it and they will come.